Hello and happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. Thank you so very much for tuning in to 98.3 FM The Life. I think we're live. Thanks again for tuning in. You're listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. I'm your host, Marty Jalove, and I come at you every single Monday night at 7 o'clock. We talk about your job, your career, your vision made clear, the skills that you hone for the business that you own, the ups and downs, the smiles and frowns, where you're at and where you're bound. If you miss any of today's episode, tune in later in the week to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness, anywhere you listen to podcasts. As you all know, I go out of my way. I'm on a quest to bring you the industry best and a few very special guests, and it doesn't get any specialer than this. This is the second Monday of every month. I bring my boys in, and today it's a special one. It's my son Luke, so it's just Luke and I. Luke, what microphone you think you're on there? That looks like number 5, right? There. Give us a shout. Say hello, Luke.
Hello, Luke.
Oh, fantastic. I am so glad you didn't miss that. There you go. So Luke, you excited about who we're going to be talking about today?
Oh, yeah. It's my favorite economist.
Wow.
Peter Drucker.
Right. Nice. I love it because I'm gonna get it out of my way right away. I referred to him as Sam Drucker too often. Okay, and Sam Drucker was the famous general store manager or owner, sheriff, like you said, mayor, and everything from both Green Acres and
Petticoat Junction.
And Petticoat Junction.
Originally Petticoat Junction.
Was it? No, you sure?
Yeah, Petticoat Junction came first.
Before Green Acres?
Yes.
Oh, well, there you go. I learned something new every day. But we're not talking about Sam Drucker. We're probably not even talking to anyone who's related to Sam Drucker. We're talking about Peter Drucker. All right. So again, everyone who's tuning in, wondering what this little rant is about, is that every second Monday of the month, I'm talking with my boys, and what we do is we talk about legendary leaders and what we can learn from the past, what some of these people have taught us in the past that we can use today, what modern leaders can learn from the past. And so Peter Drucker, a very famous writer, business leader, consultant, etc., helped a great deal of companies. And I got some fun facts. Some of the companies, Luke, you know some of the companies this guy helped out with?
General Motors?
Yeah, so it was General Motors, GE, Coca-Cola, Intel, and some nonprofits like the Girl Scouts of America.
Ooh.
So he has done quite a bit. He's helped a number of different organizations with very special and precise leadership and executive coaching. All right. And he's the kind of the father who changed everything. The father of new leadership, let's put it this way. You know, it's kind of funny every time we talk about somebody, he's the father of new leadership. So this guy fits right in there, right? So Luke, you want to start us off? Do you have anything you'd like to say about Peter Drucker, or you want me to get into it?
Well, I'll be honest. This is a first for the figures we've done on this show so far. This is a historical figure I was unaware of. I'd never heard of him before in my life, but looking into him, he seems very cool. He's very focused on the individual and the employee over the manager, where I think a lot of the economic theory beforehand was very manager focused or commodity focused, but this was focused on the person and the worker.
Yeah. I like this because what they give him the pat on the back is to understand that the worker was more than just labor, that the worker, the average worker there, also had a brain, a mind, and he can help. And if you dig into the minds of the average worker, they can help you grow, change, and help have the entire business evolve into something greater. Okay. So one of the things is that I'm looking at my notes here, is that Peter Drucker was known as the father of the human connection, that human community, that he realized that what you have to do is turn the place that you worked at was not just a labor camp or where people came to work and then they left. He wanted them to really enjoy what they were doing and being part of the success of it. So turning your company more into a community. When we talk about so many companies nowadays understand that and they go, yeah, I understand. We want to create this team building. We want to create a family atmosphere. It had to start somewhere, and it started with this guy, Peter Drucker, some time ago. All right. He coined the phrase of known as the knowledge worker. All right. And a knowledge worker was just that, that this worker had firsthand experience. He was the person getting his hands dirty. That's the person you should go to ask, uh, what do you think is the best way for us to do this? Okay. Now I know, and look, I'm going to pick your brain for current job, past jobs, whatever, anything that you've done is I still find a lot of workers that I deal with when I'm coaching a business that they're kind of like, you don't ask me anything. Just tell me what you want me to do, and that's what I'll do. Okay. I just come here because I just want to do my job. And they're some of them are extremely wonderful at their job, right? But they're like, I don't want to make any waves. I don't want everything's perfect. Don't worry about it, right? Whereas other people, you talk to them, you pick their brain, you're saying, what could we do? If it was up to you, what's one thing you could change or would want to change about the company? Right. And sometimes you get some really good ideas. Other times, it's all there. Some people's answer is, I'd pay them more money, give everyone more money. And that just shows you really don't understand how a business is run, the financial end all the time. Some people could definitely earn more money or deserve more money. I understand that. But that's not the end all solution to everything. So, Luke, you got any experience that you would say, or had that you had witnessed this, that other companies have run one or both ways? That you could say they really ran well. They want to listen to their employees and they want to grow with their employees. Or have you ever worked at a place where it's kind of like, no, no, I don't care what you have to say. Just shut up, sit down, and do your job.
I think a lot of the strongest places I've worked, and in particular the strongest coworkers I've had, are sort of able to be defined as the knowledge worker, the person who has been there for a long time
Yep.
and is very not only knowledgeable in their own right, but what I've always appreciated as another worker was they're always able to spread the knowledge around and give it to other people that they're working with. Uh, it just helps a lot. I'm getting buzzy in my ear.
Yeah, you're going in and out. It seems like so it could be bad headphone.
Could
Right.
be.
Okay.
Anyway, the but yes, the knowledge work. It's there are particular people. I remember I was working with this guy who was just so important to how the place ran that by the time he actually left, it just felt like a completely different business without him, because he was such a nice guy and such a friendly guy, but also what we didn't fully realize until he was gone was that he knew so many things and he did so many things thanklessly that
Oh,
the absence of him was noticed, like a beam. What's it called? A
and
load bearing
okay.
a load bearing
My
wall.
wall.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Wow. Wow. That's interesting. So I'm curious, did you feel like then that business had to almost in some ways start all over? Or was that guy so good at sharing information that the business continued to run still smoothly? I mean, you felt his absence, but it still kind of ran smoothly. What would you say?
Yeah, I think it wasn't a blank slate situation. It was a situation where we realized how much he did for us. So the people who he did share his experience with and share his knowledge were able to step up,
Okay.
but it took some time because again, we didn't fully realize what he was for this company.
Sure. Sure.
And that did take some adjusting to, but it was also possible because of the kind of worker he was.
Gotcha, gotcha. So one of the things is that's that kind of a worker is a double-edged sword. Sometimes it's fantastic because they do so many things. They're pleased with their own work. They get their own. They give themselves their own accolades so that it's every you can trust them so much, and they work on their own. The company, the owners, the upper management can feel like I give them unlimited trust, some autonomy, everything, and they do a great job. That's wonderful. The tough part is if that person doesn't do a really good job training other people to do the same thing, training other people to be trusted, training other people to work autonomously, training other people to really understand the nuances of the day to day. If that's not taught, sometimes a business can start to fall apart, right? It's great when somebody says, "Hey, I can do all of these wonderful things. I'll just do it." But I think it's greater, like when you first started, when you have somebody who goes, "I can do all these things, and I want to teach as many other people to do all these things as well." The idea of if I am hit by a bus one day, who's going to do the work? if I just want to take a week off of vacation, who's going to do the work? Right. And I think the difference with employees there, and this really gets into this whole idea of Peter Drucker's knowledge worker, is giving them this feeling that they're part of something so much bigger that somebody should be saying, how do I make this place succeed, whether I'm here or not? If you had all your employees truly felt that way, if they all felt, how do I make this company succeed after I'm gone? Or how do I make it succeed whether I leave, whether I'm gone for a week, a day, etc.? How do I do that? In other words, really shooting for the greater good of the company. Okay. And I'm not saying to the detriment of the self. It's how do I make the company succeed when I'm not here? Those are the types of employees I want to give as much ammunition. I want to give them as much trust, as much security, etc., because they're going to continue to push it forward.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that I learned early on, and it's because I had such a great mentor, was the idea of I want to teach other people everything I know. I really want to do this, but not so much because it was, I was selfless and I want to teach these other people. It was more because I was curious about learning something new and I wanted to move forward. I want to go to the next step. And the only way I knew that I could move to the next step, either growing vertically or growing horizontally, the only way I could possibly do that is to train my own replacement. I have to train someone else to be as good as me, different, but as good as me, so that I could go and do something else. And by becoming a good trainer like that, it should open the eyes of upper management to say, wow, we want you to learn the next thing so you can train someone to do that as well. Okay. So, Luke, how about this? You can name the person or not. Who's been the best mentor in your work life? Again, you don't have to name the place or the person. You don't want to embarrass them necessarily. But who would you say is the best person? Can you give us kind of an example of what they did that helped you feel needed, helped you feel trusted, and just helped you learn your craft?
I think it was this guy I used to work with at a place I no longer work, but his name was Troy. He was older than me, but probably by like at most 7 years. But I think what was key about why I was able to learn from him and much more willing to learn from him is because he wasn't my boss. He was the assistant. So he
Okay.
was a higher up, but he wasn't quite like in charge. So he didn't have to be in charge of all the hardline rules.
Right.
And because of that, he was able to say, like, we were able to have a friendship, a very important friendship. And he was able to say, like, look, this is how I get through the day. And I think that was the key. He approached me empathetically
Okay.
because he understood where I was. And that, I think, is a core idea of Peter Drucker's, is like, he was so focused on the knowledge worker because they were a worker. They were one part of this big machine that a company was at the time. And the workers were the bulk of the company. So if you
Yeah.
can make the average worker a stronger unit for the force that is a company, you're making the company 10 times stronger.
I like
Stronger
it.
by tenfold.
Yeah. All right. Love it. I can go through and, I don't want to bore the listeners with so many mentors of mine that went back and forth with either mentors that really knocked me down. I'm going to still call them a mentor because I learned what not to do from them, made me feel less than I was. But I also had so many of these incredible mentors. And I'll just say there's this one guy that I worked at this place doing a sales job, and I didn't think I was doing as well as I actually was. And I was comparing myself to other people without ever looking at sales numbers. And he was the guy who pointed that out, saying, it's so funny, Marty, that you're comparing yourself to these people thinking you're less, but yet I was the number one salesperson in that job. And I had never realized that. And it taught me that just because I see something and I assume it amongst my employees, my teams, if I see something, say something as well, because the employee might not see what they're really good at, because sometimes what they're really good at comes so natural to them that they think it's nothing special. And I think it's up to us all to go out of our way to point that out to our people, to remind them how worthwhile they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And that's not just in business. I think that's in life, 'cause
100%.
there's so many people who just don't know how special they are or uh how unique some of their maybe their kindness or their intelligence is. And
Or their ability to write a screenplay, that whole idea.
I don't know where that came
Yeah,
from.
just out of the blue, out of the blue. So I want to cover these three aspects of Peter Drucker, which is he championed the knowledge worker. This is what we're talking about right now. He demanded responsibility. This is really important. And then he focused on results. Okay. So before we get off the knowledge worker here, there is a parable that they connect with him. And I don't know if you ever heard about this, is that somebody goes up to three stone cutters. Have you ever heard of this parable? It's just really short and sweet. You walk up to three stone cutters. They're cutting stones, right? And you ask the first guy, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I'm earning a living." Right? Awesome. You go to the second stone cutter. "What are you doing?" And he says, "I am trying to become the best stone cutter in this whole area." Right? That's cool. You go to the third one. "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I'm building a cathedral." All right. And you think about it, they're all three are doing the exact same job, but their outlook is so completely different. Okay. And when you're building a business, what do you want? You want the people who want to build cathedrals. All right. You don't necessarily, I mean, I'll take the guy who wants to be the best stone cutter, but that's him looking at himself, right? Uh and he's looking at his job as a ways to get to what he wants to be. But I really love the idea of that guy who says I'm building a cathedral versus the first guy who's like, I'm just earning a living. In other words, that's the guy that if I get paid a little bit more doing something else, I'd go and do that instead, right? So I think Peter Drucker just loved this idea of how do you get them to be part of the bigger thing, all right? And that's what it's all about. So with that, we're going to get into the next one is he demanded responsibility. All right. Leadership is required to have absolute accountability for everything. All right. If I'm leading the team, I take responsibility for the wins and the losses. Right. I want to bring everyone up with me and I want them to work. But if the team is failing, you've got to look at the leadership. You can't blame the worker and say they're not fast enough, they're not skilled enough, because uh, you shouldn't wait for the mistake. The leader shouldn't wait for the mistake. The leader should catch that mistake early on and tweak it and fix it and move employees, let go employees, hire new employees, change things up a little bit. The leader should not wait for the mistake and then use the employees as the excuse for failure. Right? Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So anything you want to add to that piece there?
No, I think it's absolutely correct. And I think that can often be a piece of miscommunication. It's something I've noticed in less than ideal employment situations.
Sure.
I think a lot of employees and indeed managers have trouble with communicating the dispute of like when a manager is really, it's really like really chews out an employee and says like you keep making these kinds of mistakes, you have to be better. I think what an employee can fail to understand and what a manager can fail to get across is the manager is working for himself.
Right.
He's saying this is my job, I need to produce an efficient team. I can't just I may not care that much about how you do things, but this is my work. So your performance is my performance.
Yeah, yeah. I like that way of putting it. I like it, but I want to push the manager even further. I want to push the manager to say, "I'm building a cathedral, and these employees are my tools. Like I am the stone cutter, right? And these employees are the ones who are doing the work for me. All right, but I still have to. My eye has got to be on the end result. How do I turn this into something amazing? Because if I want to hire a great leader, I want that leader to go, I am turning my workers into leaders. I am building them up. I am trying hard and diligently to find my replacement. All right. I want to find somebody here who, even if they don't replace me, they're going to challenge me so that I work even harder. And most managers, I'll tell you, they will always hold something close, right? They're going to go, I'll teach them this and this, and I'll teach this guy A, B, and C, and this guy D, E, and F, but I'm not going to teach everyone everything, right? And instead, what I dare leaders to do, real managers and supervisors, what I dare them to do is teach your people everything. Work with them so that they get as good at the job as you are, right? Because they may surprise you. They may be better than you at certain things. Okay. But find those things that they're really good at, and push what they're good at. Don't necessarily say, well, this is your weakness, so let's train you on your weakness. Why not train them more on the things they're really good at so they become excellent at those things, right? That's how we end up building something wonderful. So, but it's got to be me as the leader. I've got to take responsibility for everything. If my people aren't growing, it's not their problem. Okay. It's the gardener and the plant. If my plants aren't growing, I don't blame the plants. I'm blaming myself. I didn't fertilize. I didn't water. I didn't tend to the garden. I didn't protect them from the rabbits, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So you can't say the corn's not growing. Corn is terrible. Let's fire the corn. No, you have to fire the gardener.
Mhm.
And I think it's really important. And I don't think enough directors, managers, etc., view themselves as the gardener. Okay. All right. So the next thing here is, so if we look at championing the knowledge worker, demanding responsibilities, having leaders demand responsibility of themselves, is focus on results. Okay. And it really is just like I was saying, is set those goals, those small goals, those mid-sized goals and those large goals. Set those and talk about those on a regular basis, so that everyone understands what they're doing. And goals make the job more challenging. Goals give you something different to look at on a regular basis. So where you're working or places you worked in the past, do you feel like you were set goals, or was it just come on and do your job?
For me, I think it was mostly do your job. I do struggle to think of like particular goals I was given,
Okay.
partly because
Yeah,
I
your
think
limited job experience.
yeah, but so I can't especially speak to there. There was only one instance where I was given a goal and I didn't especially think of it as like a solid moment because it was like it didn't feel. Here's what I struggled with this one goal I was given. It was not my boss, but my boss's boss.
Yes.
And what they had brought to the store a packet of like upsell phrases or like
Okay.
you know positive things you can say at the register.
Oh, okay.
Stuff like that. It didn't feel personalized to me. That was one reason why it didn't land for me.
Okay.
It felt very it felt detached from the store. And I'll also say I don't think at that moment the stakes of why it was so important were made clear to me.
Oh, see, that's terrible. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that touches on this whole idea of when we're focusing on results, it's really important to get the team involved in it. But I can't get you to marry into the idea. I can't get you to say, I love the idea unless you know why. Right. I am a big fan of asking the why and asking the why, and why. And it's the that why ladder that I think was originally you can give credit to that to Leonardo da Vinci. It goes all the way back. But Toyota, the guy who created the Toyota empire, was the first one who really pushed that and published it, saying you ask why 5 times deep, okay, so that you get great clarity. And then it's easy to get my employees to truly understand, what does it mean? What, now I know why I'm doing this. And so it's important to me. Not only now do I know why, but now as the leader, it's going to be my focus to make sure you buy into it and you want to succeed. Okay. Not just why, and too often throughout my career, my life career, too often the why has always been answered with because I said, or that's the way we do things here. Right. And those are terrible answers. Those are awful answers. That doesn't mean anything. That does not motivate me to do anything. If anything, it motivates me to be afraid of being fired.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't want employees that are afraid to be fired. I want employees who are inspired to grow with the company, right? That idea of being fired is so far away from their mind. Okay. We have evolved past the whole carrot and whip idea. Okay. Now it's a matter of let's grow together as a team. Okay. So we've got to be focused on this right from the beginning, and it's got to be regular communications. All right. So at your current place or previous places, Luke, Uh, how often did you find you had like, did your management team have like regular meetings, like weekly meetings, daily meetings, anything like that to get you focused?
Uh, what I'll say is this: I think there is the at this one place I was working at, there was
Yeah.
the thought that that was supposed to happen, but
Okay.
the real and it has to do with the particular job I have.
Yeah.
I think the realistic it was somewhat unrealistic to
Yeah.
think that they could actually do it and expect that of the people.
Gotcha.
Uh, I want to talk about
Yeah. Go ahead.
the why ladder because
Yeah.
I work with someone who, for a long time, kind of annoyed me to work with.
Okay.
We'll call them the inventor
All right.
because they would always, there are certain ways we do things. There's ways we're trained to do things,
Yep.
and they would always say, "Oh well, it makes more sense in my brain to do it this way."
Yeah. Yeah.
And at first, this severely annoyed me because I thought it was very smart alecky, but also I was like, there are reasons we do a lot of this stuff, but I wouldn't engage at first. And now that I know this person better
Uh-huh.
and I engage with them a little more, I can say like sometimes the ideas are good, and sometimes if the ideas are bad, I can say, well, this is why we do things.
Right.
You might think it's more convenient, but we can't do it because of reason X, or it's actually less convenient. You're just not noticing this. And I
Yeah.
think that leads to a much more cooperative environment.
All right. I like this a lot because you're right. I want, and Peter Drucker talked a lot about every employee should be an entrepreneur. All right. They should want to grow. They should want to innovate. All right. Innovation was very important to him. But you're absolutely right. What ends up happening is then you open up a door and you got somebody who goes, I got 62 new ideas today. All right. And after lunch, I got another 30 new ideas. And it's to the point of going, we can't innovate on everything. Sometimes if we spend so much time thinking about a better way, we never do anything. We never get anything accomplished. So it's really important for, again, a leader, okay, whether it's supervisor, manager, whether it's a coworker, whatever, has got to be able to grasp onto that and see through that. Now, I would never stifle it, but what I would end up saying to this person who's like coming up with a new way all the time, as the leader, I would tell him, you know what? I love your energy. I love your creativity. I love your drive, right? So this is what I want you to do. I want you to contemplate on all the different ideas, all the things that we can get done, how we can improve things, the direction we should go in. And every Friday morning, let's me and you have a stand-up meeting, a 5 to 10 minute meeting, and I want you to pitch your 10 best ideas or your 5 best ideas. In other words, you never stifle them, but what you've got to do is corral them. All right. And it gives them time as opposed to just me shouting the idea. It forces me to think about the idea and go, let me think this one through. Oh, no, this one doesn't really work. Or that one's kind of silly. Now I've got to compare the two because I only have so many ideas that my manager only wants so many ideas from me. Okay. So that's from that standpoint, the innovators, how you tame the innovator or corral the innovator. From the manager's side, what I'm going to come back with is always one of 3 answers. They're going to come to me and say, "This is Friday morning. Here are my 5 ideas." Right? You go, "Okay, let's hear them." Now, every idea, what I'm going to say is, "That is genius. I love it. Let's implement it." That's number 1. That's the one we all hope for. Number 2 is, that sounds like a good idea, but the timing is wrong. And the timing might be it doesn't make sense this time of year. It doesn't make sense this time of our growth. It doesn't make sense because we don't have the employees, we don't have the cash to do it, whatever the reason is. The timing is wrong. Let's revisit it in X amount of months. All right. And number 3 would be, I like the fact that you're coming up with ideas, but that does not fit into our major goal, the direction we're trying to head into. Okay. And this is why it doesn't. Okay. And we got to teach the person, you don't have to defend your idea. It's not, no one's saying the idea is bad. It just doesn't fit in here. All right. And so I think it's really important that if I'm going to limit the amount of information the person's going to give me, I have to come back with one of those 3 answers. And if we say this is a really good idea, let's actually implement it and give that person the kudos, give them the correct congratulations and say, this is the guy who came up with this. Let's continue to move forward.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what I'm going to do here, Luke, is believe it or not, we're going to take a momentary break. And I know we were just talking about how quick the breaks go, right?
Yeah.
So We're going to have a short break, everybody, just talking about some of the other shows on this network. And we'll be right back a little bit more with Peter Drucker. We're going to get into the bacon, the BACON of Peter Drucker. So please stay tuned. And we are back. Thank you so very much for staying tuned in to 98.3 FM, The Life. I'm your host, Marty Jalove. I'm here with Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. We're talking about Peter Drucker. For those of you who don't know him, Peter Drucker was a guy back some time ago, changed the way that leadership is. It changed it to the way we know it now. Focusing more on the employee, relying on the employee's knowledge because they're firsthand there, forcing managers to take responsibility, and really offering a lot more clarity and focus. It was not so much the carrot and whip mentality. It was more about, let's get everyone kind of involved. Let's get them to fall in love with the direction we're going into. Let's get them to feel like they're building something bigger than themselves. And the more we can do that, the greater chance we have of success. So the first half, we didn't really get into this. So Luke, you got to give a shout out to Nate because Nate's not here. So you have to do the bounce back on this when I say this. All right. So the reason we call this show Bacon Bits is because everything that bacon touches becomes just a little bit better. All right. But obviously we can't be eating bacon on the radio. It doesn't make any sense. So we're not talking about the bacon for chewing.
We're talking about the bacon for doing.
There you go. Wow, you did Nate proud. There you go. So every week, what we do is we use as a loose outline 5 points we want to make. BACON. All right. And so for Peter Drucker, what we want to do is really build upon this. The B is build on strengths when we're working with our employees, management team, et cetera. Build on our strengths. Okay. A is accept responsibility, which we talked a little bit about. C is cultivate clarity. Really, really make sure everyone understands everything to the nth degree. Really push that. O is going to be optimize for results. Make changes and think about this. How can we optimize, not just create shortcuts, but do the shortcuts make sense for our ultimate goal? And then N is going to be nurture innovation, which is a little bit of what we talked about already. So getting into this building strengths. Luke, imagine what's a company that you would imagine that you'd love to work at one day?
Oh,
It could be anything. Yeah, now the
now
mic's
it is.
on.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
I was like, that sounds odd. All right. If you could choose any company, anything at all.
You know who always seems like they're having fun?
Who's that?
IKEA.
All right, I like that. I like that. That's cool. All right, IKEA. So the idea of building strength. All right. If you were a manager at IKEA, right? All right. This is why I'm going to throw this at you. This is why I love doing this kind of stuff where you don't know what's coming. You're a manager at IKEA. How do you identify strengths of your team, and what do you do to build upon those strengths so these people feel like they're noticed, they're heard, they're rewarded, and they want to continue to do a great job?
Well, I'll say I'm not the biggest expert on how management consorts with
but
employees.
you're on a radio show.
When it comes to IKEA specifically, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
I don't exactly know how it works, but what I would imagine I'd try to do is I'd try to notice, which employees, at least among other employees, seem to be the best at talking to people, seem to be the most charismatic. Maybe put them out on the showrooms, have them actually talk to customers and say like, well, this is what's good about this and what's good about that. And have other people who are very professional, not very social. And you'd want to probably throw them in the warehouse, since they don't want to talk to people. They probably just want to keep as much to themselves as possible.
Okay.
In that situation. And, obviously with a job like that, you would actually get to see them in applied situations where you'd get a greater idea of what they're actually better at when it comes to a job. But I'm just thinking immediacy, you're just seeing this group of people at first. What do you want to do? How do you throw people in different sections?
Gotcha.
I think that's what I'd try to pick up on. It's
Okay.
What are they good at socially?
I love it. I love that a lot. And that falls directly in line with what Peter Drucker would talk about is don't worry so much about their weaknesses. Concentrate on their strengths. You don't want to force everyone to be a duplicate of each other. right? So we want to work on that. You know, it's one of the interesting things is because you mentioned IKEA, is I thought, oh, that would be interesting, is to really drive home the bigger model of what IKEA is. And IKEA sucks their customers in by saying you're part of the experience because you're building your own furniture, right? And people love it because then they feel like they've done something, right? It would be interesting to allow people at IKEA, the employees, to build their own like procedures, to build their own displays, to build something. I'm not exactly sure how it would work, but get them involved in the actual building of the business as opposed to you're in charge of this. These are the things you have to get done. Have them more involved in how it's being built. I mean, you're still going to follow the instructions, but have them really do the building of the business. And I think that would fall in line, and they would feel part of it because they're part of the end result. So actually, without knowing it, IKEA, I think, was one of the best examples you can come up with.
Yeah, and and I don't know this, but I bet that those showrooms, they probably are all handled by corporate, and I don't know if that is the best structure.
Yeah, yeah,
If you're at least, maybe for a big chain it is, but if you're talking about a singular IKEA, I
right.
mean, there's no way that the workers can feel that important to the space, to the place, if they're just like setting up an IKEA showroom
Right.
exactly the same as the IKEA 2 towns over.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? That's a really interesting point. I just read an article about Barnes and Noble. All right, so Barnes and Noble was kind of losing it. Nobody was going to a bookstore anymore, and so they were bought out by I want to say a London company. All right, I'm not exactly sure, but what the guy turned it around and made it profitable again, and actually expanded, created more Barnes and Noble locations. And his idea was exactly what we're talking about here. What he told them was rather than us design where everything's supposed to be laid out and duplicate it across the country, they let the management teams in that area say, you lay out the store. Okay. You determine what's going on based on your clientele. What do your people want? What do your employees want? When they walk in, what do they want to see? Obviously, they have some guidelines, but overall, the employees and the management team, the team for that store decides how they lay out the entire store so that every Barnes and Noble will look similar, but they'll be different when you go from city to city to city.
When I was growing up, and you know this,
Yeah.
The Portillo's near my home,
Yeah.
that I loved, it was my favorite restaurant as a kid.
Yeah.
Was designed as a like 50s sock hop
Right.
like drive-in.
Yep.
And growing up, I just thought that's what Portillo's looked like.
Same here.
And it wasn't till much later that I was going to the Portillo's in the city. I was like, the average Portillo's is actually designed completely different. It's a different historical era. It's mostly like Prohibition. And even though almost all of them I've seen are like Prohibition era, every time I hear or like see a new Portillo's on a map, I get that little inkling in my head where I'm like, I wonder if this is another Prohibition one or if this is something new different thing.
I like it.
And I think Barnes and Noble capitalized on that little interest in my mind perfectly by saying, you know what, doing one way all across the country didn't work. We're going to let you guys do what works for you.
Yeah, yeah. I like this. And so I'm glad you pointed out Portillo's because I hope they stick to that. I hope they stick to some individuality restaurant to restaurant because it's needed. And I think it's exciting because now when you go to a Portillo's or you pass one, you still have that feel. When you see a building that's unique, you're like, that looks like it could be a Portillo's, right? Mm-hmm. Now, on the flip side, you've got places like McDonald's, Arby's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Burger King. What they're doing is the complete opposite. They're making their buildings just squared off boxes with their logo on it. Theoretically, it might be so if we sell the property, they just pull the logo off and it could be anything. Okay. But it's really sad because they're making them blend into the background and counting on the advertising to bring you in. Versus Portillo's or now Barnes and Noble is bringing us closer to the customer in our neighborhood, right? And so there is something really special about it. We'll have to see in the next couple of years how that plays out. Which is the direction that becomes more successful.
I remember Pizza Hut is the classic example of that.
Definitely
the classic red roof building where it's like I don't know what it is now, but I know at one point that was a Pizza Hut.
Yeah, exactly. Right, right. But nowadays, any new Pizza Hut or any place they're going to put it
Sure.
is going to be a box. They're not going to put that red roof because
Absolutely.
who else is ever going to want it, right? Okay, so that's building with your strengths, and I think this ties in. I'm always worried because we go off on these tangents sometimes, but I think that still makes a lot of sense. About Portillo's, one of their strengths was just that there was unique restaurants. You got the same food, but it was unique experience.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at the time here, man. We went through this. This Peter Drucker. Who knew we'd be spending this much time on him?
And again,
Yeah.
you say tangents. I feel like we've been pretty on theme.
Yeah,
too.
I think so. I just look at it going, all right, what were we talking about here? All right, so let's get into this. Accepting responsibility. I think we really talked on this already in the first half an hour, but I think in the BACON of Peter Drucker, accepting responsibility is this whole idea. You've got to continue as a leader, as a manager there. I've got to continue asking myself, am I pointing fingers or am I charting the course? All right. Am I pointing fingers and saying you're screwing up, you're making mistakes, or am I giving you enough information that you can avoid those mistakes? Right? Are the mistakes that my employees making, are those actually their mistakes, or are they my mistakes because I didn't make things clear enough? Okay, which leads us to the C, which is cultivate clarity, right? And having, Luke, having a long background in sales myself, is this idea that the only way to sell is to be extremely clear. You ask questions, you ask follow-up questions, you reframe and you give the question back to the customer. So this way you're dead on sure what they're asking. Okay. I'll tell you, there is a company that does some local advertising. Okay. And I'm not going to give you the name, but it rhymes with Gelp. Okay. And anyway, I'm talking to them about, should I, Master Happiness, be advertising with them? And I have a free account. They have a free account, and I'm getting some traction there. But they said, should you be advertising? And they were talking to me, and the guy was telling me, well, if you put in X amount of dollars, I can guarantee you're going to get all these leads. And I told him, I can't handle those leads. I'm a one-man show, right? I can't handle all those leads. And he's like, well, how many leads could you handle? So we talked about it, and I laid it all out. And he goes, well, I don't have anything that's that low, but for this amount, I go, what do I get for this amount? And he goes, for that amount, oh my God, I could get you so many leads. And I was like, did you not hear? We're having this whole conversation. And no matter what I said, I truly believe you. He goes, no. I want to prove it to you. And I was like, no, you don't have to prove it to me. That's not the problem. Okay. I believe that that's what you can do for me, but you're not listening to what I'm saying, that I don't need those. If I say all I could handle is one qualified lead a month, let's say, just to give a number, if I say that's all I can handle, you telling me you're going to give me 15 is terrible. Okay. Because now I have to spend all my time turning people away. Can you imagine if you ran a fast food restaurant, right? You ran a fast food restaurant and you were like, we know we can handle 50 people an hour, okay? Or 25 people an hour, just to say that. But somebody came and goes, I can get you 300 people at your store an hour. You'd be like, that's wonderful, but we couldn't handle that. What could we possibly do? And now what's going to happen is we're going to have people waiting outside, trying to come in. They're going to be complaining, going, this service is so slow. Then they're going to start giving you 1-star reviews because of everything. And it's all because you're pushing too far, right? And so this idea of clarity works both ways. I've got to be exactly clear. I've got to think about what I want, and I've got to be able to word it in such a way, and I've got to be able to pass that information on to my employees. And the employees, I've got to teach them and give them the courage to come back and ask, can you be more clear on that? I'm not exactly sure what you meant. So this way we're all online. And I like asking questions like, what does success look like in this project? What does failure look like in this project? Okay. What are the rewards involved in success, and what are the punishments involved in failure? And it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get a raise or I'm going to get fired. Just, we're going to lose customers. We'll get 1-star reviews. The success is we're going to get five-star reviews, etc. You need to clarify all of that, because that's the why behind that. right? The why are we doing this? Why is that successful? Because we need those 5-star reviews because that's going to bring us to this next level. Okay. And I think that's the clarity is, and that, comes from years of sales of going to people and asking those clarifying questions before I give a pitch. Because you don't want to pitch something that the person doesn't want. And you definitely don't want to pitch something to somebody when they've made it very clear that they don't want that.
Right.
All right. That just proves, my God, you're not listening to anything I'm saying. Okay. And so that's in a sales customer atmosphere, but a manager employee atmosphere, you've got to have that full on clarity, right?
Completely.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got any stories about great clarity, whether it's been with a customer, whether it's been with an employee, a manager, anything like that, whether it's been great clarity or poor clarity, or am I throwing you something too quickly? You don't have
No,
anything?
absolutely. And to me, I completely agree with you, especially in my job, which is I think is best described as a very low stakes sales
Okay.
environment
Yeah.
where, uh, if a question is posed to me, a potential upsell,
Yeah.
my personal approach is just complete earnestness and honesty.
Okay.
Because in my situation, it's not like a sale is my end all be all for the month, like a particular
Yeah.
sale. So my best thing is going to just be being upfront with the customer and having a cordial relationship with them.
Gotcha.
And just saying, this is the honest answer to that. I see other people I work with who go, you absolutely have to get that. You're going to love that.
Right.
And, maybe it works for them, but to me, listening to it next to them, I'm just like, that's so phony.
Gotcha.
Whereas to me, I think a person who comes in, they ask that question. Half the time when you ask a question, the answer is yes in your head already.
Yeah.
So I think the best thing you can do is just be like, well, if you're gonna do it, it's only X amount more. A lot of people get it. So
Sure.
but
Okay.
yeah, to me at least, the clarity is the most important part.
Okay.
Not like catching them off guard with it.
Gotcha. One of the things that and it's going to lead into the next one here, is one of the areas that I would hope that your leadership team does is to say it doesn't have an individual sale or an individual upsell doesn't mean that much to us. Instead, it's customer satisfaction. Give you a goal of saying at the end of the month, can we get 10 5-star reviews on Google? Something like that. That's an individual goal that makes you go, okay, so how do I get that? Number one, I could ask for them, but number two, I could be more cordial with my customers. Okay. So there are other things, goals to shoot for other than just upsells. Okay. So, but it's up to the leader again to define that, think about it and say, what's the right thing? What is the way that I can give my team a goal? Because I tell you, everyone needs a goal. Everyone needs to feel like they're accomplishing something. They need to feel like they're not just spinning their wheels. Okay. So that leads us into the O after in this bacon, which was build on strengths, accept responsibilities, cultivate clarity, and O is optimize for results. Okay. And this is what I'm talking about is don't just create an activity trap where we're just keeping you busy or we've got a procedure, a shortcut to do something that what it actually does is hurts the greater goal. Okay. I can't say enough that every business that I work with, it always starts with us trying to define the core values, the mission and the vision, because then everything has got to point towards the vision. And the more your employees understand the core values, our guardrails on the path itself, which is our mission, and then the vision where we want to go, the more they understand that, the more autonomy you can give them because they can make decisions based within those games. It's kind of like imagine working at a place is like being a player on a board game. Okay. I still have to tell you the rules of the board game for you to play because when it's your turn, you're on your own. I don't give you the step-by-step rules of saying, oh, if you roll a 6, you should do this and this. No, it's up to you. You play on your own. The vision is to get to the end of the game, right? And it's so important. And too often what happens is managers, what they do is they come up with shortcuts like, hey, this is a quicker way to get to the end. Or this is quicker, this is more efficient. Why don't we just tell everyone to take 2 turns in a row so we can get around the board quicker? Something like that. And you're like, yeah, but we're missing the intent of the game. right? And so I think it's really important for us to, when we optimize, ask who benefits from this optimization? Who benefits from this shortcut? Who benefits from this new procedure, this process? Because if it's just to save time, what are we going to do with that additional time? And does it save time here, but it doesn't eliminate the bottleneck that's next? And so, yeah, we save a bunch of time, but it doesn't matter. We're not moving any faster because we still have to do this, this, and this. Okay. Have we taken in consideration the employees' needs, what they want out of it? Have we taken into account the customers' needs? Are they going to be pleased with this? Too often, people, what they optimize and they say, let's change everything to automated phones and eliminate conversations between employees and our company, right?
And let me tell you,
Yeah.
the first person who said, let's switch to automated phones, I wish I could go back in time and have a word with them.
Just a word. Yeah. Well, you wouldn't be able to. You have to press 1 for English, go through. But yeah, it's that idea, thinking that you're like, oh, this makes it more efficient. Well, it frees up our people's time to do something else, but you eliminate one of the things that make you special, right? I don't like it when you go to these fast food restaurants and it's all electronic ordering, and then you walk up to the counter and you say, excuse me, I'm trying to order this, but it doesn't have the option I want. And they're like, I can't help you. You have to order through the robot, right? And you sit there going, then why am I here? Why we can't talk? No, there's nothing I can do.
I went into a business that rhymes with the word schmendies. And there was a little paper up on the register that said, please use the kiosk.
Yeah.
And then I went to the kiosk and it says, kiosk is down, please use the register. And
Wow.
at that point, I didn't even have the energy to talk to the people there. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah. Wow. I thought you were going to tell me you spent an hour there walking back and forth trying to figure it out.
Well, I cut that out of it.
All right. Good. All right. So optimize for results, understand that. And one of the things I do have to do is this shameless plug here is my newest book available on Amazon. It's Your Time. Okay. It's your time. It's all about time management based on your personality type. This is a really good book. It lists 20 different time management techniques. And I give you hints based on the way that you attack tasks as well as what your personality is about. So when you optimize, this might be the perfect book for you, available on Amazon. All right. The N in bacon is this: nurture innovation. And this is what we talked about a lot earlier on, is that leaders must nurture innovation and encourage curiosity. You have to do this. And every time I, as a leader too, and I ran a department that was R&D, research and development. So that was 100% innovation, 100% curiosity, 100% what if, right? Even at that point in time, every once in a while as a leader, like, all right, enough with the ideas. Let's do something, right? But you've got to come up with that way of handling the ideas. And we talked about it a little bit earlier, of those people who have thousands of ideas, corral them into a small meeting where you can discuss them and then give them one of 3 options. Yes, we're going to do this now. That's something where you have to delay and do it later. Or number 3, it doesn't fit because of our core values, our vision, etc. Okay. So those are the 5. So Luke, we're almost at the end of the hour here. We got just a handful of minutes. You got any fun facts about Peter Drucker?
Well, one thing that I noticed, and I wanted to look at his page to just double check. I really liked this idea he had of planned abandonment, and maybe we don't have the time.
No, tell me that. I'm going to hear this.
But it's this idea of everyone has this need to stick to tradition, or as he called it, yesterday's successes, and he particularly applied this to business. But I think there's something to be said about life when he said you need to plan abandonment, as in to overthrow stagnation, you need to embrace new ideas or evolve with time.
I like it.
Which I think, man, that's just true. That's true of everything. You need to be able to change yourself and change how you view the world around you. Otherwise, you get left behind in the dust.
I love that one a lot. I hadn't read that line from him, and I love the sound of planned abandonment.
Yes.
Right. I like that because you've got to continue to grow. In fact, that was his whole thing. He continued to consult. I think I'm looking through my list here of these fun facts that let me see. First off, he wrote over 39 books. All right. He worked well into his 90s. All
Yeah.
right. So he was constantly doing that. And some of the other stuff was he always made sure that he was constantly learning something. Uh, Drucker has got here, made it a habit to pick up new complex subjects like Japanese art of medieval history. Like it was just something he was like, I want to learn about this. So every 3 to 4 years, he went out of his way to try to not just learn something, but to master something.
Mhm.
Just think about that. What is there something, Luke, that you would say, and that, now this is me as a father talking to you, something that you would say in the next 3 to 5 years you want to master?
Happiness.
Oh, no, don't cop out on that. What do you think?
No, let me think. God, a new thing to master.
Yeah.
I do want to get a little. I think I want to get a little better at illustration.
All right, awesome.
But that's the thing. Get a little better is all I can say.
Yeah,
Master.
master. Yeah, but master, I think master comes into it. It's subjective. All right. When you get to a point where you're like, this is what I really wanted to do. And I told you before, I love the way you illustrate. One of the things, I don't know if I'm going to be a master author, but I told you I'm going to try to write a book every year for as long as I can. And it's funny because the more I say that, the more ideas I come up with that I want to continue to do this. I'd love to. I think the next thing for me is rather than make a new one, because I'm ready to do another one this year, and I already put out 2 this year. Okay, that I was working on last year, but finally got them out. Rather than putting out another one this year, is turn 1 or 2 of these into audiobooks.
Ooh.
So that's something I'd love to see if I can master that. And I might lean on you so I have more than one voice reading them. All right.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Luke. This has been amazing. If there was one takeaway from Peter Drucker, what would you if somebody was listening to this and they needed to learn one thing, what's your favorite thing?
Don't take your worker for granted. Your employee is the brownstone upon which you build your building.
I'm loving it. All right. And my big thing is be clear on objectives. It's got to be that, and just get them and listen to what they have to say. So thank you all so very much for everything for listening in. I'm looking here for the right mouse. Thank you so very much for tuning in to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. We're live every Monday night at 7:00 right here on 98.3 FM, The Life. But definitely tune in later in the week, every week, or anytime you want to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness anywhere you listen to podcasts. Again, thank you very much and have a wonderful, wonderful evening.